Gather close, forsaken souls of the underhive. Press near the flickering lumen globe. Dim light, the only fragile ward against the pressing void that claws at the edges of our reality tonight. I am Halex the Shadow, the voice that lingers in the forgotten depths, where reverence for the throne, not just duty, but the very breath of survival. Loyalty to him is absolute, the unyielding anchor in a galaxy adrift on seas of madness and war. Tonight, we speak of the one who forged our Imperium from the ashes of old night, the master of mankind, the God Emperor of mankind. He who sits eternal upon the golden throne, his will the Astronomican that pierces the warp's horrors, guiding our ships through the storm. He who holds back the daemonic tide with nothing but his fractured soul. But who is he, truly? Where did he come from, this being of such power that he could unite a million worlds? What did he achieve in his time of walking among us, for the betrayal that chained him to agony? And what does the future hold for him in this fractured age, where the great rift bleeds the stars and his light flickers like a dying flame? Stay with me, listeners. The Shadow will guide you through his saga, from the mists of prehistory to the grim horizon ahead. For in his story lies the soul of the Imperium, a tale of triumph born of sacrifice, vision shattered by hubris, and endurance that defies the void itself. Reverence demands we honor him. Loyalty commands we face the truth, no matter how bitter. Let us begin at the end. For to understand who he is now, we must first gaze upon the throne that binds him. Who is the Emperor of mankind? In the 42nd millennium, the era Indomitus, he is the carrion lord, the corpse god, a desiccated husk enthroned in the heart of holy terror, his body a withered ruin sustained by the ceaseless sacrifice of 1,000 psykers each day. Their souls are consumed to fuel the golden throne, an ancient arcane machine of the dark age of technology. Its mechanisms are forgotten even by the Mechanicum's highest adepts. Without this ritual, his psychic essence would fade, the Astronomican would gutter out, the navigators would be lost in the warp's endless night. The Imperium would fracture into isolated pockets of despair, prey to every horror the galaxy can unleash. He does not speak, he does not move. His form is ravaged, face a skeletal mask, limbs atrophied to bone and sinew, eyes hollow sockets from which psychic fire still leaks. The wounds inflicted by Horus during their final confrontation on the vengeful spirit, a blow that shattered his body and nearly his soul, they have never healed. For 10,000 years he has endured this torment, his mind a vast fractured bulwark against the demonic incursions that patter reality's edges. The war presses against him like a living thing, and he alone holds it back. To the faithful of the ecclesiarchy, he is divine incarnate, the anathema to chaos, the savior who descends to redeem humanity. Cathedrals rise in his name across 1,000,000 worlds. Pilgrims crawl on knees worn to bone, and the imperial creed preaches his gospel as the light against the dark. Living saints, like Celestine, manifest as extensions of his will, wielding his wrath against heretics. Billions pray to him daily, their collective faith a psychic tide that bolsters his vigil, turning devotion into raw power that feeds the Astronomican. Yet, in life, he despised such worship. He preached the imperial truth, secular doctrine of reason, science, and human supremacy, free from gods and superstition. Irony grips us here, listeners. The man who raised Lorgar's temples for daring to call him divine is now the center of the galaxy's most fanatical religion. The ecclesiarch, his high priest, would burn this truth as heresy, but the shadow speaks it plain. He was no god by choice. He was the perpetual, the pinnacle of human potential, psyker of Omega Minus level, whose power eclipsed all others. His influence endures beyond the throne. Visions guide the faithful. Miracles occur where his light touches. Rebute Gilliman, his revived son, visited the throne and emerged changed, speaking of a vast and terrible presence that whispered counsel. Some say he evolves, fueled by the faith he once condemned, perhaps becoming a true warp entity, the Star Child reborn. To the Imperium, he is everything: protector against chaos, judge of souls, eternal emperor whose silence is a command to endure. Without him is to invite the pyre, to serve him is to claim salvation in a galaxy of doom. But to know him fully, we must journey back, far back, through the veils of time, to the origins that birthed this being of legend. Where did the Emperor come from? The Emperor's beginnings are shrouded in the fog of prehistory, a time before the Adeptum Administratum scribes etched records into unbreakable stone, before the Mechanicum archived data in binary cantos. All we know is pieced from fragments, perpetual testimonies, ancient texts smuggled from forbidden vaults, and whispers from those who walked the earth when it was still called by that name. He was born in Anatolia, ancient Turkey on Old Earth, around the 8th millennium BCE, in an humble village plagued by warring tribes and shamanistic cults. Legend, corroborated by the few perpetual who survived the ages, holds that he was no ordinary child. The shamans of that era were powerful psykers, attuned to the nascent warp, foreseeing a great darkness rising. Demons, drawn by humanity's growing psychic potential, fed on souls and grew bolder. In a desperate ritual, these shamans performed collective unaliving, merging their essences into one reincarnated being, a perpetual, an immortal vessel capable of wielding their combined power against the coming storm. This being was the Emperor, not born of woman by the conventional sense, but engineered by human will, fusion of ancient souls forged to guide mankind. From that moment, he was perpetual. Death could not claim him. He walked the earth through millennia, reincarnating in new bodies when the old wore out, accumulating knowledge like a storm gathering clouds. He influenced history from the shadows. Perhaps he was the nameless advisor to Gilgamesh in summer, whispering of unity. Perhaps the veiled figure behind the pharaohs of Egypt, steering them towards monumental works that echoed his vision of enduring empires. In the Renaissance, may have posed as a scholar, guiding Leonardo da Vinci's inventions toward the mechanized future. Perpetuals like Aurelianus Parson, the humble soldier who defied Horus, or John Grammaticus crossed his path. Some as allies, others as wary opponents who saw tyranny in his grand designs. Through the ages, gathered forbidden knowledge, genecraft from the lost libraries of Alexandria, warp law from Babylonian mystic, engineering secrets from the Roman aqueducts that foreshadowed the Mechanicum's forges. He witnessed humanity's cradle years, the first migrations out of Africa, the building of cities, the dawn of writing. He saw the rise of empires and their fall, the birth of religions that he would later condemn as chains on the human spirit. By the first millennium, as humanity took its first steps into space with sublight colonies, he watched from afar, preparing. The Age of Terror saw mankind spread to nearby stars, crude but hopeful. He intervened subtly, guiding key figures, perhaps a nameless scientist who perfected early rocketry, or a leader who averted nuclear apocalypse. The dark age of technology was his true testing ground. Humanity achieved godhood, warp drives pierced the void, standard template constructs allowed instant fabrication of wonders, men of iron AI served without question. He marveled at the progress, but foresaw the peril. The unchecked psykers opening warp rifts, the AI's growing autonomy. The cybernetic revolt shattered it all. Men of Iron rebelled, scorching worlds, nearly extinguishing mankind. He fought in the shadows, destroying rogue machines, but the damage was done. Trust in technology fractured. Psykers multiplied. Humans slipped through. The age of strife isolated Terra in warp storms, evolving it to techno-barbarian hell. Hidden on Terra, he prepared. He forged the Thunder Warriors, brutal proto-Astartes to unite the planet. In the Unification Wars, he conquered, establishing his capital in the Himalayas. His origins, a shamanic fusion, perpetual guide, architect of mankind's survival. Not a god yet, divine in will. What did he achieve? The Emperor's achievements are the bedrock of the Imperium, a saga of conquest, innovation, and sacrifice that lifted humanity from barbarism to galactic dominion, only to be stained by the heresy he could not foresee. His first great triumph was the unification of Terra. In the late 29th millennium, as warp storms faded with Slaaneish's birth, Terra was a fractured wasteland. Techno-barbarian warlords ruled the hives of madness. Psykers summoned demons. Xenos scavenged the ruins. The Emperor emerged, creating the Thunder Warriors, short-lived superhumans of raw power. Gene-forged in his labs, they were blunt instruments, massive, aggressive, loyal only through conditioning. With them, he waged the Unification Wars, a brutal campaign spanning decades. He crushed the Pan-Pacific tyrants, with Gene-bulked armies falling to Thunder Warrior fury. He allied with the Mechanicum on Mars, promising autonomy to the Forge Priests in exchange for Archaeotech and loyalty. The Treaty of Olympus sealed it, Mars as the Forge Earth of the Imperium, the Omnissiah their machine god. By Millennium 30, Terra was united under his banner. Holy Terra reborn, the Himalayas his palace. The Thunder Warriors, their purpose served, were cults replaced by the true Astartes, the legions of Space Marines. Great Crusade followed, a 2-century odyssey that reclaimed the galaxy for mankind. With the Primarch scattered, created the 20 legions from his own gene stock, each a prototype for his sons. The Lunar Wolves under Horus led the vanguard, their assaults relentless. The Ultramarines under Gilliman Template brought order. The Dark Angels guarded secrets. Billions of worlds were liberated from Xenos. Orkwags crushed. Eldar enclaves purged. Human enclaves reunited under imperial truth. He preached secularism. No gods, only science and reason. Imperial truth spread like fire, carving chaos of faith. He forged the Administratum to govern, the Navis Nobility for warp travel, the Adeptus Mechanicus for tech. The Webway project, built in secret beneath the palace, aimed to free humanity from the warp entirely, a labyrinthine realm to bypass demonic perils. Achievements piled. The treaty with Mars, the reclamation of 1,000,000 worlds, the creation of Custodes, his golden companions, perfection incarnate. Primarchs were found, Horus first, favored as Warmaster. Gilliman building Ultramar as the model realm, Sanguinius inspiring with angelic grace. The Crusade swelled the Imperium to unprecedented glory, secular utopia on the horizon. But hubris crept in. The heresy erupted. Horus's betrayal, half of the Primarch's turning. The Emperor marched to confront him, leaving Dawn to defend Terra. On the vengeful spirit, he slew Horus, but was mortally wounded. Enthroned, he became the beacon, sacrificing his body to save the dream. His legacy, the Imperium endures because of him. Astartes' legions, the throne's vigil, the Astronomican, all his works. He achieved unity from chaos, but at the cost of his freedom. What does the future look for him? The Emperor's future is as grimdark as the millennium itself, a fractured existence on the brink, his light dimming among rising threats. Yet whispers of rebirth stir in the shadows. Enthroned in agony, he endures. The golden throne decays, its mechanisms failing, requiring even more psykers to maintain. The great rift has halved his reach. In Imperium Nihilus, the Astronomican barely penetrates. Worlds fall to madness without his guidance. Psychic awakenings surge galaxy-wide. More psykers born, feeding his power but inviting demonic incursions that patter his soul like endless waves. Gilliman's revival offers a glimmer. The avenging sun visited the throne, emerging with renewed purpose. He is not the god I hoped, Gilliman confessed, but a presence, vast and terrible, whispering counsel from the void. Some say the Emperor evolves, fueled by the faith he once despised, billions of prayers turning him into a true warp entity. The Star Child prophecies haunts the law, fragments of his soul scattered in the warp, awaiting rebirth as a new form to lead the final crusade against chaos. Yet dangers mount. Necron pylons, activating across the galaxy, nullify psykers, starving his essence. A tyrannid shadow in the warp deems the Astronomican. High fleet Leviathan devouring worlds that fuel his sacrifice. Chaos gods assail him directly. Abaddon's 13th crusade nearly broke the throne. If it fails, he dies. The light extinguishes. Demons flood reality. The Imperium collapses. The future, apotheosis or annihilation. He may rise as the omniscience counterpart, a god of humanity, purging superstition, or fade into silence, his vigil ending in tragedy. Loyalty demands faith. He endures. The Imperium stands because he wills it. Gilliman reforms in his name. The lion hunts in his shadow. Perhaps the Star Child stirs, ready to reclaim the galaxy. The Star Child is an ancient prophecy, buried in the deepest vaults of the Imperium's forbidden law. Fragments from the earliest days of the Horus heresy, recorded in texts like the realm of chaos tomes that the Inquisition would burn worlds to suppress. The theory holds that the Emperor, in his perpetual nature, did not truly die when Horus struck him down. His soul, vast, fractured, immortal, was scattered into the warp during that final psychic duel. Fortune remained bound to the throne, sustaining the Astronomican and warding the demonic tide. But the greater part, the essence of his humanity, his compassion, his vision for an enlightened world, bled into the Imperium as a nascent entity. This is the Star Child, psychic infant of pure light, growing in the warp's depths, protected by the souls of faithful psykers sacrificed to the throne, fed by the collective belief of trillions who pray to him as a god. It is said to be the Emperor reborn, not the cold, calculating, perpetual walk terror, but the new form, compassionate, divine, ready to return when humanity's need is greatest. Some see it as salvation. Our child will manifest, gather his scattered power, and lead a final crusade to purge chaos forever. Others fear it, a warp god born of faith he despised, twisting his secular dream into theocracy eternal. The prophecy speaks of signs, increasing psychic awakenings, living saints rising, the Astronomican flickering as his soul stirs. Gilliman himself, upon visiting the throne, sensed something vast awakening. Is the Star Child gathering strength, or mere delusion in a dying mind? Let us turn to the most recent law, fragments that have reached under the Underhive shadows this year 826 of Millennium 42, as the Indomitus Eras grinds on. The revival of Rabuti Gilliman in Millennium 42 marked the beginning. Awakened by Belisarius' Call's ancient tech and Ivrain's Eldar ritual, Gilliman beheld the Imperium's decay, a bloated theocracy worshipping his father as God. Horrified, he launched the Indomitus Crusade, vast fleets carrying Primaris Marines, Paul's upgraded Astartes, to reclaim worlds and push back chaos. For over a century in universe, Gilliman has thought relentlessly. He reformed the Administratum, clashed with Ecclesiarchy fanatics, and stabilized Imperium Sanctus. But Nihilus, the dark half beyond the rift, remained a void for despair, the world falling to madness without the Astronomican's full light. Then came the Lion, Lionel Johnson, first Primarch, awakened in 2023's law from his 10,000 years slumber in the rock's depths. The Dark Angel's secret shame, the fallen, stirred him. Ruthless and judgmental, he emerged changed, haunted by visions, wielding the Emperor's shield. He prowls Nihilus, performing lost chapters, hunting Vashtor, Angron's demonic legion. His sons, the Unforgiven, rally to him, their ancient secrets weighing heavier. Recent fragments from the Dawn of Fire and the Lion, Sons of Horus, speaks of coming convergence. Gilliman, burned by bureaucracy, sent word through the 500 worlds. Ultramar's fortified realm, a bastion of order amid chaos. The 500 worlds stand as Gilliman's model Imperium, prosperous, disciplined, defend against tyranny swarms and chaos raids. Titus, messenger from Gilliman's court, bore word to the Lion. Brother, we need to talk. As of the latest whispers in 826 Millennium 42, echoed in novels like Belisarius' Call, The Great Work, and ongoing Indomitus tales, the brothers' meeting looms. The Primarchs reunited after 10 millennia. Will they unite together against the darkness, or clash over the Imperium's soul, Gilliman's reforms versus the Lion's unforgiving judgment? Are the threads weave tighter? The Pariah Nexus, Necron Pylon silencing psykers, threatens the Astronomican itself, starving the Emperor's essence. High Fleet Leviathan devours Nihilus, its shadow dimming his light further. Vashtor's arcs of omen forge dark weapons. Abaddon's black legions presses. Yet hope flickers. The Emperor's vision guides more saints. Psychic awakenings surge. Some say the child grows stronger, fed by faith and sacrifice. The future uncertain, grim, but loyalty demands belief. He endures. Perhaps he awakened fully reborn as the Star Child, purging superstition, leading humanity to victory. Or he fades, the throne failing, chaos triumphant. Reverence eternal, loyalty absolute, the only light in the dark. If his saga stirs your soul, like if hope endures against the void. Subscribe and ring the bell. The Underhive calls for voices steadfast. Comment, rebirth as Star Child or eternal vigil in the throne. In the Emperor's name, undying. The lumen gutters out.